I'm with SNY Mets pregame analyst Bob Ojeda. Bob, let's talk pitching.
Yep, let's talk. I think that's the key this year, is their staff, how they're used. I think they've established who they're going to bring. Doesn't mean they're married to them. It just means it's what they're going to start with. But this staff is not a push button staff. It's not you know what you're going to get 1 through 4. You know what you're going to get through 1. After that, you don't know. So I think it falls heavily on Jerry's and Dan's shoulders to make sure that they read these guys. They understand, does he have another hitter and does he have another pitch in him? How do I want to use my bullpen? Do I want to set them up with runners on? Do I want to bring them in to start innings? Who's going to be the 8th inning? I don't think that's a relevant part of this ball club right now. I think when you have an established staff, established pin, you can define that role, that 8th inning role. Look, give me a closer. I got to have a closer. Give me a couple long guys. And on this staff, I'm going to have to maybe go with the hot hand in that 8th inning. And sometimes that may work to their benefit, because what I don't want to see is guys sitting. I don't want the guys sitting for 10 days and then I bring them in. You need work as a reliever. You need work all the time. You can't sit for days on end and not throw. We found that was a problem with Stokes. Came into New York last year, gave it up big, and we found Frankie was a little upset, because not upset, but it was a little uncomfortable with not being used as much. Well, he's got to speak up, because a lot of times it does fall on the athlete, but it also falls squarely on the shoulders of the manager to make sure his guys are being used to where it'll maximize their talent.
Tell me about this 8th inning guy thing, because it seems to me like this is a relatively new development, and I'm walking around the Mets Museum and seeing highlights of the '86 team, and Roger McDowell was a guy who used to throw 100 innings, 120 innings out of the bullpen. What happened to that reliever? Is that something that just can't exist in today's game?
Well, I think it can, and I think it does on other teams. I think the problem is it really got specialized a few years ago, and I think guys have moved away from that. They're not so much specialized. They're still a little stuck on that 8th inning thing, and to me, there's no such thing as shortening a game. You're not going to shorten a game because it's always 9 innings. If I knew what was going to happen there's my 8th inning guy, okay, this game's over. You know what? Let's not even play 8 and 9, because we know what we got. It's fantasy. So my 8th inning, I'm not a big believer in 8th inning guy per se on this staff. Okay, they tried it last year with JJ. That was a disaster. On this staff that's unproven, that has work to do, I just think that's a role that will be filled by the hot hand, by the situation, by the score, by the team, by a lot of things. Where we are in the standings, where we are as far as, has he been overused? Do I got to put you in there? I'd like to see guys worked in and out, but also worked left and right-handed batters.
So you'd rather not force a guy like Pedro Feliciano into that job, who might be more valuable getting lefties out in the 6th or 7th? It
has to be fluid. That's the art. Handling a bullpen is an art. It's not a book. I don't open a book, there it is. Okay, boom, boom, boom. Some staffs are clearly more established, and you fall right into it more readily. This staff does not have that luxury. This is a fluid situation. So am I just going to use him in that? Maybe not. Maybe I think the addition of the other lefty in the bullpen was huge. But I have to think on my feet. I got to use smoke and mirrors with this staff. I got to not only get off to a good start, I got to make sure you're not used up in August and September. And I think that was something that we've all seen over the years. When a team fails late, sometimes a couple guys you relied on too heavily in April, May, June, July are spent when you get to August, when you need them, when you're spent when you get into September. So the fluid situation, not establishing clearly an 8th inning guy on this staff, I think is the best way to go. But it falls there again. It's an art, and I think it falls on Jerry and Dan.
Bob, thanks so much.
You're welcome, Ted.